Hello, I'm Michael Pierce, and this is The Human Condition. Our topic today is gut health and its links to mental health. So today we're going to unpack the symptoms of gut health and link them to what may be going on with your mental health and your brain. Please join us on our website, humanconditionlab.com. Sign up for our free emails and for our notifications about our events, our live events, and our free ebooks as well. We'd like to hear from you, and comments below, please tell us what you think about the topics I'm doing and how I do on them. We want your opinions, and they change and modify what I present to you on a weekly basis. So thank you. So some of the symptoms of gut health to pay attention to are really strange because we're kind of raised to take drugs to get rid of any symptoms we have. If we wake up in the morning with a headache, or we get a stomach ache, or we have a sniffly nose, we've got a pill for every ill and a potion for every emotion. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think that we have to get back to the idea that most people, when they're healthy, are symptom-free. So any awareness that you have a gut is probably something that has gone wrong. You shouldn't be aware that you have gas or bloating. You shouldn't be aware of food moving through your system. You shouldn't have any of those sensations. If a healthy gut doesn't really give you any signs or symptoms that it's there. It just does its job, and you clip along and do your life. So we would start first with gas. Gas production, which can be in the upper belly or in the lower belly, or really anywhere, can make noise, it can rumble, it can hurt or not hurt, it can swell and expand your waistline and subside, it can add inches to your waistline, it can also give you pain, and sometimes it comes up in the form of burping and belching, and sometimes it goes down in the form of flatulence. So all of that, if you've got recurrent symptoms of gut gas, please see if you can correlate that with your mental health symptoms. See if there is a correlation with either when it happens, or how often it happens, or if it began at the same time or near the same time that any of your mental health symptoms happened. The next one is pain and noise. Well, I talked about pain and noise a little bit already, but sometimes people have focal pains in a particular spot, and there's all kinds of organs in your abdomen, and a good physical examination by a doctor can really help you figure out what those pains are and what those noises are. There are a number of noises that can come from having over-churning gut, and they're called borborygmus, and they're churning gut sounds, and they sound like that kind of thing. And they often go with gas and bloating. That is a sign of overactive gut motility, and sometimes that is excessive parasympathetic firing. Now, many of you were thought that ill health comes with parasympathetic excess firing, the fight or flight process, and that we would like to stimulate the parasympathetic system. And I'd like to say, well, maybe sometimes, but sometimes when people have gut disorders, they have too much parasympathetic outflow of their brain, and that too much parasympathetic outflow gives them too much bowel movements, diarrhea, too many secretions, too much fluid, too much gas, too much motility, and too much noise. And so they have lots and lots of problems. So sometimes it's not good to just drive the parasympathetic system and have that person do more and more parasympathetic types of methods. There are people that use heart rate variability. I think that's a wonderful way of controlling the parasympathetic nervous system, but often it's gut related and it's food related. Instead of trying to control your gut with just heart rate variability, consider what you eat may be the cause of what's going on with your gut. And if you say, well, nobody else in my family has the problem, that's not really a good answer to me, because usually entire families have the same problem. They just don't complain about it, and they've accepted it as their normal. I think that people aren't used to accepting a flat tummy that doesn't bloat and accepting a tummy that doesn't have painful spots and tender spots. It's something that really Americans have given into, and we need to push back on that. We need to say, no, I want to reclaim my gut health and I want to reclaim my brain health. You will also see the symptoms of constipation and diarrhea alternating. This is extremely common in the United States. It's part of an irritable bowel syndrome. It can be part of a number of problems like Crohn's disease, which is an autoimmune condition. We can see a number of conditions, and usually their root cause has to do with bile disturbance of the pancreas and liver's output. Certainly the stomach is involved and stomach acid is involved, but generally this constipation and diarrhea intermittent problem really comes from higher up in the digestive tract, way up in the area of the pancreas and the liver and the gallbladder. So normalizing that with supplements and diet can be very helpful. Trying to get rid of carbohydrates, processed grains, beans, nuts and seeds, flour, any kind of flour that comes from almonds or from wheat or from barley or from rice, any kind of flour and oatmeal, All of those things can be very problematic for gut health. And there's a number of lecturers on YouTube that talk about the dangers of fiber. I used to think that fiber could do no wrong. We really held fiber in this idea of holiness, where fiber was just the greatest thing in the world and it could do no wrong. And it's very true that fiber can cause a lot of gut problems and therefore a lot of mental health problems. Why do people talk about gut problems leading to brain problems? I think the reason in part is because the gut, it has a barrier, and that barrier separates the outside from the inside. And the brain also has a barrier called the blood-brain barrier. If your lifestyle tears apart your gut barrier, it's just a matter of time before your lifestyle is going to tear apart your blood-brain barrier, and you're going to let stuff into your brain that you wouldn't normally let in. That would be toxins, that would be invading organisms, that would be cytokines. There's all kinds of inflammatory molecules out there that we don't want in our brains, and we don't want them to cross that blood-brain barrier, and we don't want it to be inflamed. The blood-brain barrier can get inflamed by cytokines, which are chemicals of natural inflammation that come from food if we eat the wrong kinds of foods. So if we find ourselves insulin resistant and we find ourselves burning a lot of sugar very inefficiently, we're going to end up with inflamed brains and inflamed guts. So as the gut goes, so does the brain. You'll also find that sometimes your belly has cold spots. If you feel your belly and you can feel cold spots, that's a sign of circulatory problems in your gut. And sometimes people need to boost their circulation in their gut. Now, sometimes I use niacinamide for that. This is vitamin B3. However, you can get that from meat. You can get that from red meat. You can get it from all of the animal foods. You can get it from red meat, shellfish, chicken, pork, poultry. You can get it from eggs. You can get it from all kinds of animal-based foods. You can get it from dairy products. You don't have to get it from vegetables, and you don't have to get it from a pill. So just realize that sometimes people become niacin deficient for other reasons. They get lack of circulation to their gut, and the surface of their belly feels cold. And so that's going to lead to poor digestion and poor brain function. So sometimes paying attention to your gut symptoms and talking to somebody about it can help you improve your mental health. Try to correlate if you've ever had some kind of gut change or bowel change that correlated around the time that you started having onset of a new mental health symptom. This is a real problem, and we ignore it to our peril in the United States.